What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is having a good day thus far. So for today's horror movie review, we are looking at the film called Little Bites, which was released in October 2024 and only had a gross worldwide of $9,299. So that is not much of a gross worldwide, a box office result. Very, very low. I think it's probably one of the lowest ones I've seen thus far since I've started doing these movie reviews. So of course, we've always looked at box office results very subjectively. Doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, doesn't necessarily mean it's good. We don't know the circumstances of if it was limited, if it was only in select theaters in select cities, if it was a small weekend run. We don't know the circumstances. I couldn't find any information on that. I just know that is the listed gross worldwide. So this film runs a little bit longer than the normal 90 minutes we see for horror films like this one. It runs for 105 minutes. It's only 15 minutes longer. I don't know, in my opinion, it's not too much longer, but in my opinion, the additional time doesn't help this film. This film can, I think, even if the 15 minutes was there, it doesn't change my opinion of this film. It doesn't change my confusion, my outlook on how the film progressed, ended, and some of the things I thought that the film needed to address. So we'll cover off on that in a little bit. So this film can currently be streamed on Shudder or AMC Plus. I don't know too many people who have AMC Plus. I don't have it. I saw it via Shudder, so I know many people probably have Shudder over AMC Plus. Or you can purchase or rent the film on Amazon Prime. So if you don't have Shudder or Amazon Plus, you can rent it or purchase it there. I wouldn't. It's hard for this one's a little bit harder for me to say whether or not I would say purchase it. I would definitely say rent it first. Rent it first, then if you really like it that much, more than likely you're going to be convinced to purchase it anyways. But for this one, go into it with a rental mentality for sure. So the question this film poses to me, and I believe to the audience, is how far would a person go to protect the ones they love? So the main character we follow for most of the film is Mindy Vogel, who is a young widow and mother to a 10-year-old daughter. Mindy believes in keeping her daughter safe, so she allows a vampire by the name of Agyar, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Agyar, who is kept in a room in the basement of the house to slowly eat her alive. So Mindy has sent her daughter Alice to stay with her grandmother, or Alice's grandmother, which would be Mindy's mother, to keep her safe and hide from the reality of the situation and Agyar. So she doesn't want Alice anywhere near Agyar. Mindy is constantly being asked to allow Agyar to feed off of her. So as he has this dinner bell that we see him ringing. We don't see him actually doing it, but we can hear it throughout this large house. So every time he rings this bell, and they refer to it in the film as a dinner bell, he's indicating he's hungry and he wants to feed. So we see Mindy respond to this dinner bell, and this obviously very defeated, this very I don't want to keep doing this, when will this end mentality, and how she carries herself, which is very understandable. We also see that she's covered in scars, various scars across her entire body, where Agyar has been feeding off of her. So at one point, Agyar threatens that he needs more blood in order to take care of his appetite, because his appetite is becoming, at least what we see, because we see all these scars on her. So we know this has been going on for a while, but we don't know the duration between feedings, so to speak. But in the film, it seems like it's happening pretty frequently. So he's wanting more blood to keep up and take care of his appetite, and he threatens Alice if Mindy does not provide for his needs. So he's indicating to Mindy, I'll hurt her. You'll never see her. Again, outright threatening her daughter. So obviously, I think as most parents would do to protect their child, she gives in and tries to make sure he is fed, so to speak, and to keep him at bay and away from Alice. So We also see here Mindy has various phone calls with her, which is a very unloving mother. We hear the verbal abuse over the phone, and she continues to question when she'll be able to, for Mindy to take her daughter back. Because again, through the conversation we hear over the phone, because we do hear both sides, she's not a good mother, doesn't understand why Mindy doesn't just take her daughter back. When's this going to end? Pretty much get your shit together. So Mindy works to keep the mother at bay as well, while trying to resolve the hunger issues of Aguiar, because she doesn't want to continue having him feed off of her. So we can progress through the film as she tries to think of ideas of how she can address his hunger, get her daughter back, keep the mother away, but still not be the one that he's feeding off of. So she goes to a bus stop, and she attempts to bring a stranger back to the house. And while you can see he's very, very like, I don't want to say scared, but very confused, very like, I don't want to be here, I want to leave. But she somehow convinces him to stay, please be my friend. And then she convinces him, hey, do you want a bowl of ice cream? So she goes to the kitchen, and she's trying to mix all these various over-the-counter medicines, I'll call them for the lack of a better term, into this ice cream. And you can tell, I guess in the real world outside of a movie, you would tell this isn't normal ice cream, and you would be able to easily tell that the taste would be completely off by the amount that she's putting in here. And so she takes it to him, and he even questions like, this tastes real weird, but she keeps kind of like forcing him to eat it. Eventually makes him immediately sick. He's in the bathroom. Everything's coming back up, I'll put it that way. And he eventually passes out. And so she passes out to the point where he has no idea what's going on, meaning like she's dragging him across the room, literally drags him down the stairs. He doesn't wake up, brings him into the room to have him take her place and gives them over to Aguiar, but Aguiar refuses he calls it like the sacrifice. He's like, this person, I'm not gonna feed off this person. This person has they're pretty much, he can almost like sense from their presence or like their smell, maybe their blood, that it's a person that has like nothing to lose. They have like no meaning in life, so to speak, right? So she then has to drag him back up. And this is a big guy. He's a very big guy, and he's probably 2 or 3 times her size and like weight. So she manages to drag him back upstairs, manages to wake him up, and he immediately wants to leave. He eventually gets out of the house. So as we move on through the story, she's at the food market. She takes a trip there, and a previous friend of hers sees her. But Mindy's like has this big hat on, these glasses, kind of like trying to like cover herself up, and like so no one will recognize her, but this lady does. Mindy takes off her glasses, and you can see her health is deteriorating, and the way they did her makeup makes her look that way. So this friend becomes immediately concerned. They have a very brief, uncomfortable conversation, and then next thing you know, we see CPS is comes to the house seeking to see Alice and make sure that Alice is okay. After Mindy is holding CPS for as long as she can, like holding them off, they end up back at the house. And we do a time jump here, I want to say a week. It seems like it's a week based on the story. We do a time jump where CPS comes back to the house. Mindy can no longer keep her at bay from coming into the house and seeing Alice. So they end up back at the house, and when she's in the house looking around to make sure, is everything okay, she hears a noise, and it's Aguiar in the basement making noises. And the CPS worker immediately thinks that it's Alice. Alice is trapped. So she's rushing through the house, rushes downstairs. Mindy follows her. They get to this door, and again, the CPS lady opens up the door, says Alice, and Mindy is like, screw it. Takes her opportunity, pushes her in the room, and immediately you hear Agyar just consumes her whole. And then you see the image we have here that we're using for today's video. This is from that scene. He pops his head up. He's covered in blood. And now Mindy is freaking out because she even says to Agyar, someone's going to come looking for her. And Agyar's like, no worry, this room will be licked clean. They'll never know she was here. But still, there's going to be on record that CPS came to this house, to talk to Alice, talk to Mindy. So that's going to be a problem. So Mindy comes to a realization after this happens that she is no longer going to listen to Agyar. She wants her life back. She doesn't want to be in this situation anymore. And she no longer will allow him to feed off of her. He doesn't like that, but she doesn't care. She's taking that stand. No more. We're not doing this. So she makes the decision to call her mother, even believe that Agyar's still in the basement, to have her daughter come back to live with her. The mother does bring Alice back and she tries to explain to her while they're eating a meal the situation. She's going to show her Agyar. She's like telling her, hey, monsters are real. I want to be honest with you. So she takes her downstairs, opens the door, and goes to show her Agyar, but he's not there. He's not in the room. The room's completely empty, and Alice is confused, right? Has no idea. Eventually, another CPS officer comes. I guess the leader or manager of the previous individual shows up, and it's like, hey, we're trying to find so and so. We can't find her, and she hasn't put in her final report. And he now wants to come in and talk to Alice. So Alice just got back home, and the story that obviously their stories wouldn't align, you would think, but he comes in, talks to Alice alone, and he's like, comes out within a couple of minutes, like, okay, good to go. Have a nice day. This case is closed. I have no concerns. So how Alice would have known what to tell this individual, the CPS officer, to make sure that she wouldn't have been taken away, it's never explained in the film, and it's a bit confusing as to how that would happen. So move on, and later on in the film, it's now nighttime. Mindy is in the shower. There's a knock at the door, and Alice answers. It's Agyar. Agyar is there wanting to come in, and he's briefly dressed up a little bit, but not enough to hide his face. Alice is scared. I can't let you in. I'm not allowed to let you in. He's like, hey, tell your mom Agyar was here. She knows who I am. I'm a very good friend of hers. She goes and tells her mom. Her mom now freaks out and doesn't know what to do. So they go in. So as they're moving throughout the house, they start going to the kitchen, where they find Agyar in the kitchen. And there's a brief conversation back and forth, pretty much like Agyar's like, this is it. You're gonna succumb to me. You're gonna listen to me. And next thing you know, Mindy appears like, okay, I give in, and appears that she's going to sacrifice herself to save Alice. So she starts to crawl over to Agyar, who's now like sitting on the ground, like leaning up against the kitchen counter. And Agyar immediately just bites into her and starts to not feed off her, but a little bit, and then kind of but moves her to the side. And what starts not to make sense is now Alice starts to approaches as if she's going to allow him to do the same thing to her. And as he thinks, yes, this is going to happen, you're going to be mine, Alice, out of a sudden, just bites Agyar and looks over at her mom. Mom Mindy smiles at her, and then she starts biting him. And then they just both start just biting everywhere, all over him. And you're meant to, I guess, believe that it kills him, because we get then a brief roll of the credits, because that's where it ends. We get a brief roll of the credits, and there's a small mid-credit scene where like the sun is out, Mindy is sitting on, we're like the camera is panning from behind this couch, facing Mindy from, we're seeing from behind the couch. Mindy's sitting there looking outside this big bay window. The sun is shining, and all of a sudden there's a knock at the door. She gets up and opens the door, and it's Alice, but it's a much older version of Alice. It's almost as if there was a potential 8 to 10 year time jump. And Alice is like, hey, Mom. And that's it. We then continue with the credits. That's the movie. So I feel like the script needed like a lot more work done to it before it was said it was final. There's literally like no backstory as to why she's a widow, how this vampire is in her basement feeding off her. I mean, what appears to be for a very long time. How did Alice end up at the grandmother's? I mean, we know we can get to as to why she's there, but at some point she left. But if Aguiar's been there this whole time, wouldn't Alice have known this as well? Because she's only been with the grandmother for a few weeks, and the way that she's been bitten up, Mindy, you would think this has been going on for quite some time, even when Alice was still in the house. And then the ending makes zero sense as to why all of a sudden they're now biting Aguiar, what appears to be to death, and then credit scene, mid-credit, time jump, and then we get the rest of the credits. So again, makes zero sense. So I'm giving this film for me, I love the aesthetic. It's in the 70s. You can tell it's in the 70s, just how everyone's dressed, the house, the supermarket. So I do like that aspect of it, but the overall film just felt incomplete. It felt like there was a lot of story missing, and the ending just made zero sense. I can see the underlining messages. I know that as far as protecting your children, addiction and all those things. I get all of that, but for this movie, it just didn't work for me. So I give it a 2, maybe a 2.5. 2.5 for me would be pushing it. I'm comfortable at a 2. For this film, I personally has no rewatch value for me. I won't go back and rewatch this again. I have no need to. Again, it's not. I don't feel. Usually, if I feel it's one of those films that if I come back to it later on, I'll like it the more I watch it. This is not one of those films for me. I won't come back to this one and say, oh, after watching it a few more times, I really do like it. Not going to be it for me. So I give it a 2, most a 2.5. That would be really pushing it for me. It's as far as I can go with it. I would still recommend go watch it for yourself on Shudder or Amazon Plus, rent it or buy it on Amazon Prime if you really want to see it. But again, I always say watch it for yourself. Films, TV is all subjective. What I say is a 2, you may think is a 4, right, out of 5. So that's where I sit with the film Little Bites. Like I said, you can stream it on Shudder if you have Shudder or Amazon or AMC Plus, or go on to Amazon Prime and rent or purchase it. So that's going to do it for our movie review for Little Bites. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think. If you've seen the film, what did you think? What would you rate it out of 5? If you haven't seen the film, let us know still in the comment section. If you're interested in seeing this film, if you've even heard of this film, maybe seen it on your Shudder, dashboard. If you thought about watching it, let us know. But if you do decide to go watch it, come back, put a comment in the comment section, give us your rating. Also, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Peace.